This is askSlim Live, June 23rd, 2020. Information and support for traders and investors in a time of crisis and beyond. And this is actually a special event because this is our popular services preview. And I have a feeling there's a lot of people that are going to be in here that have not been in our live events before and maybe have not even been an askSlim member before. A little bit of legal that we need to clean up before we get to business here. All the information on askSlim is for entertainment and educational purposes and shouldn't be construed as investment advice. Everything on our website, everything that we say to you orally in all of our videos, every single piece of content that we put out is for educational and entertainment purposes. You should always consult your investment advisor before making investment decisions. And askSlim Live events are being held as support for our members, and in this case, a special event, and they're not included in our memberships. They're just specials. They've been created for this time of special needs. Note that these events are likely to be recorded, and we are actually recording right now. Offered on askSlim.com on the website, and even may be offered out to the public for public viewing. All askSlim members should know that we will never, ever do anything about sharing your identity. Your, as far as we're concerned, your information, your email addresses, all of that is your private information. You've agreed that we can contact you, and we do that with all of our announcements and all of our content, and we will never ever share that with any outside third parties. Your participation in this event acknowledges that you understand and agree that we may be recording this, and in this case we are. And if you're uncomfortable with that, well, the time for you to exit would be right now. Today's host, well, that's me, 45-year professional in the stock market, futures markets, option trader, one of the original traders in the OEX pit. I was probably one of the first screen traders, left the floor in 1984, and then began trading from a screen, traded on the CBOE, the Merc, Chicago Mercantile, Chicago Board Options Exchange. I'm a coach. I've been a hedge fund manager, president and founder of askSlim.com. Matt Serpe is a 20-year technical analyst, my protege. He graduated from my own coaching program many, many years ago. And he is now the director of product innovation and the askSlim.com COO. Arvi, 9 years in the investment industry, really well-credentialed MBA at Boston College, is our lead cycle analyst, is an expert in it as I am in cycle analysis. We'll show you a little bit more about that as we go forward. And 7 years mentee of mine. Matt, say hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad
hey,
to have you
Arvi,
here.
say hi.
Hey, everyone.
So that's Matt, Arvi, and I. We will be your hosts today. We have a program that is a little different than we normally do. Well, not quite. We always start out with me giving a market brief, talking about the stock market. And then Matt and Arvi are going to go through our popular services preview. So that's what we're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks. People that are free members are going to be able to see content that nobody else has, who has not been a level 2 or 3 member has ever seen. So you're going to really get a good look at what we include. Some great content in there. They'll tell you all about that. Then we're going to open up a Q&A for us. Specifically, we'll start out with questions that you have around our content. And then after that, if there are any market questions for me, that'll be at the end of the show. So we have somebody on there, Jeremy, saying he cannot hear any audio. I think, Matt, that would be specific to his device. Is that correct?
Yes, the opportunity for hearing the audio is wide open for all attendees.
Right. So you can, Jeremy, you'll have to either work on your volume or figure out what's wrong on your end, because I think everybody else can hear us. With a show of hands, how many people are at a live event of ours for the first time? You can click that, raise your hand. All right, great. That's great. How many people here are not a free member? Just came in by our public announcements. Raise your hand if you are not any kind of a member at all. So we have quite a number of people that are here from outside and have not become a free member. Just want to note to you that to participate in our popular services preview, you will need to be a free member. It doesn't take a credit card. So, after this event or whenever, you can go in and sign up for the free membership at askSlim.com, and then you will be able to get all this content for the next couple of weeks. So they'll be going over that with you, and that's great. So just want to make sure if there's anybody else that, you couldn't answer this question. I was going to say, if you can't hear me, raise your hand. That isn't exactly going to work, is it? So we'll hope that Jeremy has figured that out, and then he can hear it. Yes, Flavia is asking if this will be posted so that you can, yes, you'll be able to see it later. It will be posted, right, Matt?
Yes, we will provide the replay later this evening.
Ah, great. Okay. That's good. All right. So now let's get on with this. So as I said, we always start with a market brief, and then we will get into questions. So I'm sharing my screen right now, and I'm going to switch over and start out by showing you a chart. So this is a chart of the S&P 500. Now, there are lots of people out there that are here for the first time. So it's my intention to really give you a little bit of a walkthrough right now in what we're looking at. There's three studies on here that you can see right now. And one is the slim ribbon. So what the slim ribbon is an indicator that I built and I developed by putting together three different exponential moving averages. And what's unique about this is that it has a specific programming in there that when you have all of the three in alignment, in other words, the 8-day exponential below the 13-day, which is that blue line, below the 21-day, when they're in alignment, it turns this all red. And if there was volume on here, it would be red. The volume would be red also. When it turns up and gets neutral, it turns gray. I think it's purple on some of the programming. And then it turns green, and all the bars are green when momentum is positive. So that's the uniqueness of this. I also have on here an 89-day moving average, which I often use because it's important support resistance level often. So I wanted you to get an idea of that. Now, let's just talk about my analysis. My analysis looks for the rhythms in the market. In other words, money flow. It's, when is money flowing out? Of course, it's moving down. When is money flowing in? Of course, it's moving up, and it's very visual. But what I want is you to be able to see how the analysis and how the rhythms in the market, or the heartbeat, are easily seen when you understand cycle analysis. So I showed it to you first without it, and now I'm showing you with the cycle analysis. On the bottom are the cycle brackets. These are simply a drawing tool that helps us understand the rhythm of the market. Money moving in and a correction, and money moving out. You can see how it lines up in what we call a nested period. Money moving in, money moving out, money in and money out. When they are making higher highs and higher lows and following the slim ribbon up, they're getting support from that upward energy. And they continue with that inertia in that direction until it's acted on by, well, different things. It could be news. It could be the fact that it's very overbought or oversold. It could be hitting a support or resistance area. And all of those things are what we look at. We look at momentum, support, resistance. And what we do is we put together a sum of the evidence. In other words, using multiple time frames. So when I do this analysis, I not only do it on the daily, but I do it on the weekly chart, as you can see right over here. So that's the S&P 500 weekly. I don't know why that big green thing is there. So let's just remove that right now. There you go. And you can see that what we were looking at here on the weekly is that, I'm going to blow this up for you to see, is that there are these yellow zones, which are the corrective zones. And when we get into those, that's when the market falls. When the market is entering a corrective zone, as it is right now, that's a phase where the market is likely to fall. That's why I anticipate that this present cycle may not make it to a new high, because there is a change of energy on this more dominant weekly cycle, that it's beginning to roll over. And I say that because, well, there's that dark cloud cover that you see right over there. And that dark cloud cover gives me a warning that this is turning over and pretty late and likely to decline, just as it did in this yellow zone over here. So in the case of this particular daily cycle here, because I believe it's turning over, it's rare, but at this time I also put in an alternative cycle. If it still maintains some of this positive energy, then it might be able to hang up. And that's that kind of gray dotted area right over there. In either case, we believe that based on the sum of the evidence, this is the area that it should be stalling in and beginning to turn over. And once momentum starts to get lost, it will then be moving down. Our projection is that the market will fail here. And you'll notice that 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts into this minor resistance zone, and it is struggling in that area. I had a market that looked pretty strong today, but then began to move down. So the resistances there are 31.75 on the S&P 500, 31.27, and it's gotten into the middle of that zone a couple times. And you can see the momentum here on the slim ribbon is getting a little bit weak. There's one more thing I want to show you, and that is the projection oscillator on the bottom. And the projection oscillator is a very, very powerful tool when used with the slim ribbon. And that is when momentum is negative and the projection oscillator gets overbought, it's a sell and the very strong likelihood that it will move down again. When momentum is positive on the slim ribbon and you get down to an oversold level, it's a buy, and it's a very strong possibility that the market will move up again. That has been happening. And you'll notice in here that we're getting overbought right over here. The market's not able to make a new high. So there is some warning in there also. So the stock market is, in my opinion, beginning to show the weakness that I expect and the rolling over that I expect, looking at this chart right over here with this downward pressure beginning to come, this stalling over here, and you can see our projection is such right over here. So there's some supports here on the daily at 29.65. That's a little bit above this 23% right over there, which is at 29.70 on the weekly. Our projection is at best in July, end of July or beginning of August, getting down to around 28.20, 28.30, with a pretty strong potential of a move down here to 26.60. So with the market absolutely as strong as it is, you might say, sure, Slim, well, the Fed is in there. It's doing everything it can to hold up the markets, pouring in trillions and trillions of dollars. Why should the market fall? Well, I mean, why should the market have fallen right over here where it fell 35%? The Fed was still in there. They were acting similarly because they had real trouble in the repo markets. And so they were already pushing interest rates way down. In fact, if you go look at the special that video I did on the dollar, gold, and the Fed, you'll see a lot of that information that I shared, which I did a week ago last Thursday. It's in our big picture analysis. So if you want to see that, you can. So here we are, where we're in periods where these yellow zones, where the market tends to fall hard. You saw it fall very hard beginning right over there, and we're in it right now. So there is a pretty good chance that the market is going to be declining with some severity fairly soon. And we see this stalling going on. And if the market is able to get strength, which it had today, and continue, then we will have warnings if you get over that 31.75 number. Right now, it's not able to do that. So that is my summary on the stock market. I hope that was really valuable, clear information to you. I will now turn this over to Matt and Arvi in order to bring you information about our popular services preview and what is included. So take it over, guys.
All right. This is Matt. Thanks, Slim. Great information as always. Hello and good afternoon to everyone. Got a great group today, fairly large. It's great to see a lot of new individuals who've signed up as free members or joining us from the public today. So as Slim mentioned, a primary focus for today is to provide an overview of our popular services And that began today and is running for the next 2 weeks through July 7th. So what I'm going to do is, I know many of you have signed up already, but I'm going to quickly walk through how to create your free account. Just take a minute and do that. I'm going to share my screen. And by a share of hands, can everyone see the askSlim website with create your free account? If you can, just put the hands up. Okay. Great. Okay, so it's as simple as going to the website and you click on the join now for free or get your free account. And once you get there, you can review the services. And then you simply click on create your free account, plug in your information. As Slim mentioned, there's absolutely no credit card required. This is completely free, and you'll be good to go. And then once you complete that process, that step, you'll receive an email, a welcome email, and then you'll receive another email with your login information. Excuse me. And then once you log in, you will then be able to access the dashboard. So the typical free account dashboard has in it the askSlim Market Week archive. So when Slim puts out his video on each Friday, you get to have that in its entirety in the archive. Then there are some special free videos that we share. And then there is also the askSlim Live and special market reports that we put in here from time to time as well. But for this special services preview here, popular services preview, you now have access, as Slim mentioned, to some of our most popular premium services and all of our premium levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so we're going to walk through those right now. I'm going to do it as quickly and as effectively as possible. Make sure that I touch on, the hows and the whys as much as possible. And what we're looking to do as well is next Thursday, and we'll mention this again as a reminder at the end, is Arvi and I will provide a Q&A session again on this, so that anyone who wants further details on these services or has a chance to experience them for, the next week or so, mark those questions down, and then we're going to open it up for a half hour to hour and allow you to ask some questions again. So I'm going to walk through these right now. And then at the end, we will take the questions. We do have, Slim may have mentioned this, a Q&A. You can click on that Q&A, and that's where we'd like you to put your questions in there that we'll answer at the end. Okay, so we're going to start with the Slimulator Momentum Tracker. So that's this one right here. You just click on that. That's going to open up the application, and the application opens up and it looks like it's blank, and that's on purpose. And so what we're going to start with here is just a quick overview. So this contains our proprietary momentum readings. And in the inventory of symbols, there's more than 1,000 stocks and ETFs. If there are symbols that are not in here, you can always suggest them to us. We do not follow penny stocks, and typically anything under about $3 or $4. And again, if it's not in there, you can let us know. So you have an opportunity with this application to scan those symbols in multiple time frames, looking at the various momentum readings that we've built into this. So our custom algorithms use the momentum to generate a directional bias, an outlook, and it reflects the momentum condition of those 3 different time frames. And then we have a summary or some of the evidence in the directional bias that I'll show here in a second that is intended for your position traders or those who are more longer term swing traders with an outlook of 3 months plus. All right, so how do you search? Well, it's as simple as plugging in a symbol. So if I want to look up Apple and I click enter or click on the search icon, it'll generate the output. And on here you have, again, the 3 momentum readings in the 3 different time frames: short term, intermediate, and longer term. And we have an algorithm that takes a combination of these 3 different time frames, obviously more weighted to the intermediate and longer term time frame, then generates an output or a directional bias. And you can see that right here. So it's very bullish right now. So this is purely technical information based on our momentum indicators. The other way that you can search is you can look for a watch list. So we have the ability for you to create your own watch list, or you can look at any one of our canned, pre-installed 20+ watch lists. So I'm real quick going to just show if I go to my watch list, which right now is blank, and then I wanted to add symbols, I would click on the add symbols icon or button here, and that would open this up, and then I could just either search for the symbols or click away, and then I'll just do a couple here. And you have up to 30 right now that you can do, and you save it, and then it will generate those symbols with the momentum readings on those as well. And then if you want to go back to single symbol search, you can do that very easily. Then, as I mentioned, you can also search by watch list. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to, let's see, the Dow Industrial Average, and I click on that one. The Dow is very neutral. And you can see here that we have a momentum ratio pie chart, which reflects the components, so the individual symbols, and puts them into a pie chart in terms of their degrees of bullishness or bearishness. So if they are bullish, have a bullish or very bullish reading, then it represents in the green or 17% as this example. If they are bearish or very bearish, then it would be 23%. And if it is any type of neutral reading, that could be slightly neutral or slightly bullish, it would show up in this. And the reason I picked the Dow is because it's interesting to see the differences between these watch lists as you compare them using these tools that we have. Now, in terms of other features, we have a great sorting feature here. So you can sort by time frame, and it's all this stuff happens in an instant. So you can see here that I sorted by bearish short-term reading, and it would pull up all the ones that have a bearish short-term reading, or I can sort by the bullish short-term reading. Then I can also sort by the directional bias, which again is basically the sum. Our algorithm puts this together for that little bit longer term time frame here of 3 months plus. And if I wanted to sort by which ones are the most bearish or which ones are the most bullish, I can do that very easily. So it's an excellent way to understand momentum, which does play a role in determining a bias, or should be part of your technical analysis toolkit as you look at making decisions on the bias. All right, so next what I'm going to show here is an example of the momentum ratio comparison. So right now we're looking at that Dow Jones Industrial, and we have the pie chart that represents it this way. Now I'm going to go to the NASDAQ 100. Boom. It's very interesting to see the difference, and that's why this application is as powerful as it is. You can quickly get a sense of what sectors or industries or indexes have the bias in the direction that you're interested in based on momentum. Same thing here. You can sort by those that are most bullish or bearish in this case, now most bullish. So very quickly you can get a sense of those symbols that fit the trade planning that you're looking for. You can also scan for recent movers. So if I go into scan mode and I wanted to see today if there's any movement on the bearish side in the short term, I can select on that and I click scan, and it will pull up the ones that have most recently shifted to the short term a negative or bearish condition. And I can look at, then you can go inside a checkpoint here. It's waiting on the data. Let's see if you can pull. There we go. Just give it a second to load up. Okay, I'm going to pause that feed so I can do some studying in here. All right, so it shows here, you can see that short term, this shifted on 6/19. So the NASDAQ's obviously been pretty strong. So this will give you a sense of ones that have recently changed. So it's a great way to take a look at recent changes. I'm going to stop that scan here. And go here to show you one more time on that sorting feature. Okay, so that is the Slimulator momentum tracker, an excellent tool again to understand momentum at various time frames. All right, now I'm going to head back to the dashboard here, and we're going to take a look at the SIR live stream broadcast here. So I am going to pull that up. How many of you today were able to pull this up and observe it? Okay, good. We had a number of you that did that. That's great. So I know that there's typically some questions on this, and so what I'm going to do is just again quickly as quick as possible, walk through at a high level what this is. And then there's also a user guide that is available, and I'll show where you can access that in just a minute. So this is intended for intraday traders. These are for individuals whose trade planning typically consists of 1 to many trades per day. In the morning, we send out a notification letting you know that the live stream link is ready. And that typically comes out between 8:15 and 8:25 Central Standard Time. So it's basically 15 minutes or so before the regular market session opens. And that includes the unique Zoom meeting link so that you can view the live stream price action. So this is constructed on 15-minute charts using a proprietary blend of technical tools with our thinkorswim TD Ameritrade platform. The analysis that we do on each one of the cash indexes is performed independently of each other, so they don't influence the levels here that are created. And we do this each morning. So it's revisited each morning with a fresh eye, and we do take into consideration the price action in the pre-market. So that is another reason why this is sent out as close to the open as possible to take in as much data as possible. Now, this isn't just generated by auto-generated by a machine. This is handcrafted. This is a set of tools that we utilize and a methodology that we have proprietarily established. So our objective is to identify key levels and delineate those to reflect the highest probability of where intraday price movement will likely pause, consolidate, accelerate and continue, or reverse. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just give you a very quick sense of what the colors mean and the most important information on here. And we try to have any and all information on here have some value. So we don't just put, and with all of our charts, all of the information that we overlay on our charts has value. And over time, when we talk with our members and they have suggestions, we will consider those, we back test them. But at the end of the day, it's about, as Slim mentioned, having information that can provide us with the highest odds and some of the evidence at the various time frames. Okay, so this is constructed with in mind that there's likely to be an upside and a downside for the day. And we're looking for key levels. So I'm gonna look at the S&P and I'll look at the NASDAQ here as an example. I'm gonna start with the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ here, in terms of key information on the upside. So the green, we call this acceleration trigger line. So this is resistance until it's violated. So once 10,211 was violated, our analysis suggested that this acceleration zone, where we've identified a potential price vacuum where there could be an impulse move to the upside, that it would be fulfilled. So we designed these with the intent that our analysis would suggest that we would fulfill that acceleration zone. Now, we've done this for several months now, and right now we are doing some performance tracking. And I don't have the exact numbers, but the percentages are very high that we get through most, if not all, of the acceleration zones. Now, obviously, in trading, there's no guarantee, but the intent is that when these are positioned, that there's a higher probability that we will get through most, if not all, of that acceleration zone. So what happened this morning is, and I'll explain why the difference in the colors here in just a second. So we came in and we went into a resistance area, although it's different color. And then we violated through the acceleration trigger line, and then we fulfilled that one. And we went into some more resistance, which really didn't act like it for too long. And then we went into the key intraday fib extension resistance zone. So I'm going to pause just for a second and explain the difference in the colors. So the colors, similar to the pink and red zones, the light and dark blue zones are meant to represent the expected intensity of the resistance areas. So the darker the color means that our intraday analysis suggests an expectation of thicker, let's call it turbulence. So from an analogy standpoint, the lighter color is like clouds and the darker is similar to a storm. And the reasoning behind why the NDX has blue colored resistance zones instead of the pink and red is because Well, the NDX is in what we call blue sky territory. Each day it's printing new all-time highs, and therefore it's cleared all price level resistance. And so because of this, our projections for the resistance levels are now done with our fib extension tools, and these are indicated in that blue coloring. So that's the difference. It's simply the fact that the NDX, when you have these, means it's now in new all-time high areas, and we have to use different tools to identify those areas. So we fulfilled this acceleration zone. We got into a key fib extension resistance. We thought there'd be some heavier turbulence in this area. And when you get into these areas, we expect not just consolidation, but a high probability of some reversal back through that zone, or at least a good portion of that. And so although we did break through again and fulfill another acceleration zone, so right there we're talking 16 plus 26, 25, what is it, 40, 51 about points there. Hopefully my math was right. So we fulfilled that, and then we hit into this other intraday resistance level. We did violate it up there a little bit, but then started to roll over. You can see that. And then we fell pretty darn hard. So it's always important. That's why we have these key areas, because you're likely, again, to run into some turbulence in here. Even if you get through it, there's a high probability we're going to probably come back and test it, if not come back below it. That's just what the analysis suggests. Again, this is all about probabilities, not certainties. All right, now you see this green line here that shifted then to purple. For some screens, it might look reddish. This is what we call our momentum indicator, our reversal scout. Now, what this is a momentum indicator, and we utilize it to help understand the directional bias for the intraday. So there is an important distinction to make between bias and signal. So for us, this is not necessarily a signal, or although at times it can be a good signal. It's not meant to be a signal on change of direction. It's more meant to give you a sense of what the bias is, how you want to bias, or where you want to bias your trades in terms of if you want to be long or short. So that's what that is. And now I'm going to talk about the lower half, which we didn't really get into today at all. But just like on the upside, downside here represents key levels. So we have your support area, and that lighter color means, again, using that analogy of some cloud-like, you're gonna have some consolidation, possibly, depending on the strength of the market, a bounce. And then you have the support or trigger acceleration line on the downside. And once this is violated, then the assumption based on the analysis is we fulfill that, or a good portion of it, and then you get into another support area, same thing, all the way down until you get into what we would identify as the very key area for the day. Sometimes there are multiple areas. The NASDAQ is much, much higher right now, so it would have had to fallen a lot farther to get into one. Okay, so that is the overview of the SIR intraday live stream. We'll keep going. Next, we are going to go over the Slimulator ranking system. So that's this one down here. So we just went over again, we went over the momentum tracker. We went over the live stream. So I'm going to click on that though, now that just to make sure that everyone sees this important page here. So if you click on this, there's a brief explanation. There's also the link to the live stream. So for some reason, if you don't get that email by 8:30, let's say 8:33, somewhere around there. I mean, it's very, very, very rare. But when we have extremely volatile pre-market sessions, there are times when it may come out 5 minutes into the open, just because we have to shift some of these levels, because the S&P might have been up 30 and now it's down 30, and then that requires us to put that time in. You'll be happy that we did. Otherwise, the levels will not have as much value. Okay, so this is a great place to find out more about the SIR. There's a usability guide that you can click on, which will basically go through what I went over today, but you can review it again. And then also now we've had numerous requests for, let's call these results or end of day screenshots of the price action. So we have that now. So I have the last week or so here uploaded, but you can click on that and you can take a look at, how did the levels do in days prior. And again, you can see the NASDAQ is then strong day after day in a way. So that's then very, it should be a very helpful tool to get to know this product really well. All right, let's get back, over here. Now we're gonna move into the Slimulator ranking system. So this is in the same family of the momentum tracker, but the intent is a little different and includes some additional proprietary studies and methodologies that we've built into it. So this is meant to be a trade planning tool. It's designed to support active traders with an outlook which is different than the momentum tracker, which is for those position traders with that 3 months plus outlook. This is for the next, say, 3 to 6 weeks. So if you're looking at the next 3 to 6 weeks or so, which would be very helpful for, you know, more of your short-term-ish, intermediate-term swing and option traders. So this has been programmed with our proprietary cycle and momentum analytical work for 84 of the best traded stocks, ETFs, and futures. And our focus was to include those best stocks and ETFs from each major group with the largest option volume and those with cycle patterns that were most consistently identifiable. So why not work with symbols and such that are going to show us what the patterns are that we can best utilize, because at the end of the day, it is all about highest probability odds of creating an opportunity for a profitable trade or reducing and mitigating your risk. So the technical evidence that we utilize in our algorithms is organized into three time frames, and also another proprietary study that Slim and Arvi created. So we have our long-term momentum, which is primarily made up of monthly chart analysis. We have our intermediate momentum and cycle work here, which is primarily the weekly chart analysis. And then we have our short-term, which is made up of primarily daily and 2-hour chart analysis. And then we also have what is OBI, which is our option bias indicator. Again, it's proprietary. It's the only place you can find it is here. And this is a script that we wrote to combine studies designed to give you a sense of trend, while also suggesting when a stock is very overbought or very oversold. And so it is just it's a fantastic tool. And again, we've blended these together to give ourselves some of the evidence output and a directional bias. And just like we showed on the other momentum tracker, it's just fantastic in terms of the ability to just efficiently and effectively get yourself situated for your trade planning. And you can sort again here by most bearish, most bullish, or if you're doing some more neutral based option strategies and you want to find symbols that fall into that, just an incredible tool to find and utilize for your trade planning. Also included in here are our charts that we do. Tremendous amount of work goes into these. Make sure you maximize your opportunity with this stuff. So we have our daily chart. It's an example here of GC. We have our weekly chart. Just awesome information on here. So that is available with the Slimulator rankings system. And what I'd like to do, if we can, is I'm going to have Arvi just share an example of how you can utilize this tool to create a trade idea. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to walk through our actual trade idea service, and then Arvi is going to explain the logic that goes into creating those trade ideas. But for this use case right here, we're just going to talk about how you can use this application to help you form your trade planning, or assist with your trade planning.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Let me go ahead and take over the screen here.
All right. Very good.
Okay. Okay. So you guys should be able to see my screen. Just please let me know just by raising your hand. That'd be great. I would appreciate that. Awesome. Thanks again. Okay. So how I like to use this is to basically say, okay, look, I want to look for something long. Okay. So then I would sort by this column right here, right? And I can sort by just clicking on it, and I can sort. Okay, so these are all of the ones that we have that are in basically overall bullish areas, right? So let's just look at gold, okay? Because we have a long out in gold right now. And I just want to show you this weekly chart because this is really a beautiful chart here. So gold, we can see we have these lows due, right? And we were forming this really bullish pattern here. So we actually had a long out in gold. And what you'll see here is that we are looking for a move back into this area up here on the upside, right? So that's something that you can use when you actually do your own trade planning, right? So then let me jump over to the daily chart. And you can see, so this is what we are basically looking for, right? So we have this low due here, and we are basically looking for a little pullback here, and then another rally. So you can see you can see that this is really clear on how you could actually do your own work and then build, your own actual trades out, right? So I just want to kind of show you this because we do this on so many different symbols, and we are always, if you look at all of this, every single chart we have workout on what we think is likely to happen based on our own work. So you can see how easy this is to really use. And if I can also sort the other way too, right? Bearish charts, right? So you can see all of the names here that we have that are bearish. So I hope that's something that should be really easy, and something that I also love to use too. So
Thanks, Arvi. If you
Sure.
could just pull up, let's try to find an extreme reading in the OBI, maybe just show what that looks like.
Sure, yeah. So we had
Now-
square as just one that kind of comes to mind here. So we have to go to the middle because it's in the,
Now for our level 4 members actually get this indicator that is accessible and viewable on the charts, but on the ranking system, you do at least get to see which ones are represented there.
Yeah, so you can see it's actually P1 yellow right here. So this has obviously had a really nice run here all the way from 30 all the way up to 105. So
Yeah.
what basically this is saying is that there are overall there's overall some odds that we would get some minor pullback here down into these zones here from 96 down to about 90 on
Because
the
the script
downside.
has a volatility sensitivity built in.
Correct.
Right?
Right, correct. Yeah. So basically right now it's just had a really big run up from these lows, just, only around like 612 or so, and then it rallied all the way back up to, well over 100. So there are decent odds that we would get some minor like pullback here in square, just based on that
Extreme readings.
overall reading. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Arvi.
Sure, of course.
I'm going to grab back the screen.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And we'll go back to dashboard over here. And I am going to take a look at, now we're going to look at trade ideas. Okay, so trade ideas. This is just a fantastic area.
Matt, just 1 second. I don't think they're able to see your
all right,
screen
thank you,
right now,
Arvi.
so please go ahead.
Did it come back up?
Yes, yeah.
All right, great.
All good.
Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Thanks. Okay, so in trade ideas, this is where you're going to be able to see how the team brings the core of our technical methodology, our cycle work, our momentum, and our trend analysis and studies into practice. So trade ideas is specifically designed to support your trade planning. We believe trade planning should be a critical part of a trader's process. And for this reason, we accompany each trade idea with a template that contains many of the essential components of a trade plan. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. You'll see that it highlights favorable entry ranges, target zones, and suggested areas the idea will likely need reevaluation. So if we look at GDX here as an example, scroll down a little bit, you can see our template here. It's just a fantastic way to remove emotion and get serious about your trading when you put together a trade plan. And so on here, we have the core components. So and this is great for trade journaling too. So you have your symbol, obviously your price at the time you did analysis. What's my bias? Am I long? Am I short? And then the rest of this will sort of trigger you to think that through. So you obviously want to indicate for yourself what's the outlook period. So that's what we do. We have an outlook of the next 3 to 8 weeks. And then what trade type is it? Are we looking for a breakout, a continuation, a reversal? So we indicate what type of trade it is that we see developing. And then we have our favorable range for entry. Where's the highest probability entry for the best trade opportunity? And then we have our projections. You always have a sense of what your projections are. And those are based on your outlook period as well. That's very important that you do that. And so we give you shorter term and more intermediate term. You know, for those that put on and like to take off some as you reach different areas, you know, you can use this as a guide to think that stuff through. And then obviously you want to have a place where, hey, my analysis that you're doing, it may need to get reevaluated, and it likely may be that that idea itself isn't playing out and the conditions no longer are suitable, and that happens. And again, unemotionally, you do what you need to do with that position, and you get back to a place where you can look at things with fresh eyes. So, and then we give you the logic, which is so critical. You force yourself to think through, why am I looking at this with a long bias, and why am I thinking about these projection areas and so on? And so we give you a briefing with that information. It walks you through why our team looked at this. And Arvi leads this, and he does a phenomenal job. And you know, both Arvi and I have been trained by Slim for many years, and we use his method that has come from nearly, Slim, isn't it just about 6 decades? You know, I think we're entering into your 6th decade here, which is just unbelievable. So, you know, this is the place where you get to see it all come into play, see it happen in real time in a way. And what also another incredible feature is the fact that with many of these trade ideas, Arvi puts together a video overview, just phenomenal, again, in terms of the instruction and education, which is so important to trading, is how do you go from analysis to then execution. So you get to hear that. You get to hear the logic that we have as Arvi talks through his analysis and how he builds out a trade plan. So Arvi, I know you did that a little bit, but if you want to just step us through some of what you do here on trade ideas, that would be great.
Sure, absolutely. Give me one moment. I'll take back the screen here.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so this is your page here, and you want to click on, we had a couple of questions. This is where you'll see it. So you can click on trade ideas right here. It should show up for you. If it doesn't, please let us know. And you can click on trade ideas and you can open up the link. Okay, so now we had talked about gold. Okay, so we can just go back to what were we looking at the time in gold. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scroll down. You can see all of the names that we have covered over the past week or two here. So if you look at gold, again, I would say everyone should really watch these because they're very helpful. I do them, you know, basically every day. So over time, you will be able to do all of this work too, right? That's why we are doing this. So we want you to be able to look at all of this on your own too, right? So so let's just scroll down and then we can pull up gold here. So we can click on it and you can see we were looking at the time gold was trading at 1736. We were saying that this would be the area that we would look for it to actually move off of. And we were looking for a move up to 1778 to 1809. And if it got below 1688.30, that would render that this overall plan no longer valid, because you always want to have an area that says, okay, I'm wrong, right? So this would be the area that we would say we were wrong. Now, what happened in gold, you know, we can pull up the chart in gold and you can see, let me go back to the other chart here, and you can see what happened in gold. But basically, gold has actually rallied off of that point. So let me pull up the ranking system here and go to gold. So you can see how easy this really is, right? That's really what we were trying to do here. You know, everything should be very easy for us to find. So let's go ahead and find gold, open it up so you can see. So we were looking for a long trade idea around this area right here, around 1736, right? We did go sideways for a few days, but then we did make this higher low, which is what we were looking for. And then we have since rallied now back up to our area that we were looking for. So again, it isn't about whether this actually worked or not, but it's about how are you actually doing your, like, how are you actually seeing your overall plan, and do you have a plan, right? And that is always something that you have to do no matter what, right? And that's what we are always trying to basically do each and every day. So I hope that was helpful.
Yes, thanks, Arvi. Very much
Could
so.
one of you guys just, I didn't see it if you did it, show how the colors light up as you see how if the trade went well, or if it didn't go well, if it didn't
sure.
get executed?
Absolutely.
I don't think you showed that, did you?
Yeah, no, I don't think we have yet, actually. So yeah, so we just want to basically show you, so you can show for all of our names out right now, what actually worked and what didn't. Okay, so you can see if it's green, it actually worked. If it's red, it did not. So over time, you know, you can see we have been fairly good. So yeah, so but you know, you can go through every name and you can then say, okay, well, let's see what happened here. Okay, we didn't actually get hit on this, so that's fine, you know. But there are others where, let's say it did work, you know. Okay, let's see why, and then you can say, you know, basically what happened with every single one of these names. So I think that's also very nice. So
absolutely right.
Yeah.
We're fully transparent on these.
Right. Yep.
And at some point, we're going to have some kind of an accounting on the total numbers on these. But I can tell you, it is well over 50%. Arvi's done a great job on this.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we have, I'll just grab it back.
Please
We
go
got
ahead.
one left service here, a very important one to go over. Share my screen. All right. And the last one I want to cover is Future Speak. So Future Speak, and we have an Ask Slim live session where Slim spent a good 15, 20 minutes and really went into the details on this. And I'll dig that up and create a clip and share it, because this is just an amazing opportunity for you to really understand and hear it from Slim himself from anywhere from about 45 minutes to an hour. Every Wednesday, Slim produces Future Speak, which is a weekly review of his of the future markets. And in this review, he looks at cycle analysis and important indications of trend and market condition, along with key support and resistance areas in 6 key segments of the futures markets. That includes energy, forex, precious metals, treasuries, stock indexes, grains and softs, and now we've also included Bitcoin. We had a huge request for that, and so now we've also included that. And so he does this review each and every week. It's on a weekly and daily chart, and it's just phenomenal. It's so important if you want to understand technical analysis and see how it gets put into action. So it's a phenomenal thing. Strongly recommend that you take the time and that you watch some of these. Even go back in here, because there's always just diamonds in terms of information in here. All of Slim's years of experience, he shares, I'm going to call them, you know, great coaching moments that are just fantastic. So make sure that when this comes out, which will be tomorrow, that you watch the whole show, and even go back and take a look at some of the other ones if you really want to get a deep dive into our methodology. Slim, is there anything else you wanted to add? Because I think we covered it all.
Well, I think you did cover it all pretty well. Just regarding Future Speak, I think one of the real great things that I do in there is I'm constantly referring to the correlations between markets. And that's why I bring in all these 24 different futures that I look at in 6 different segments of the markets. And you can see in here the notes on our minutes, we call these, where each of these links go directly to that place in that video. This is not included, though, is it, in the preview?
No, this isn't included, but I wanted to be able to show how you can.
So one of the great things about learning to really be a good analyst is to be able to use the correlations between markets to understand the markets that you're trading. So I'm very clear when I go through that as to how you get different tips about the conditions of a market, or the probabilities of a potential move based on what I'm seeing in other markets, because there is so much, as we call, linkages or pin action. And in cycle analysis, we call it the principle of commonality, in that like things trade similarly, or even inversely correlated things will, of course, give you good information similarly. So I go really extensively over those correlations, and I think it's an important aspect of what I do in Future Speak. And I can tell you that it takes me, at least 5 or 6 hours of studying and research and working on the charts to prepare to do this 45 to 60-minute video. So I do that every single week, excuse me, and of course, looking at the charts every single day. So I'm bringing you a ton of work in a brief period of time, and cull it down, I think, very into understandable bites for you to take out of it in the areas of interest that you have. So
Excellent. Thank you, Slim. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've covered all of the services. Go make sure here that that's the case. Actually, I missed the daily snapshot. I'll just do that one for 2 minutes here. Make sure you know where you can find it, and just a very quick overview of what it is here. So you click on daily snapshot, and it's part of the SIR family. This is one is for short-term traders, those of you who are looking for trade planning the next few days to few weeks. That's definitely going to be a helpful report for you. So this comes out in the afternoon. So we use the day's price action to get a sense of the market conditions. But again, it is meant, the information in here is meant for a few days to a few weeks. And if you're someone that again is looking for shorter term time frames, if you're an index trader, use the indexes as a proxy for trade planning, and you plain and simple just love using pure technical information, especially key levels, then you absolutely want to follow a daily snapshot, because this is about as pure a technical report as it gets. You've heard Slim probably many times, if you watch our YouTube videos, talk about how the team here and his philosophy is to be bull bear agnostic. We let the charts do the talking. We use the analogy of being like a radiologist. That's what we do. We just diagnose the charts. We have no personal bias, and this report absolutely reflects that. It is absolutely purely technical in nature, and does utilize all three of our main fundamental core of our analytical work: cycle, trend, and momentum. So you get an overview of the directional bias and why it is what it is. And then there's upside overview, downside overview, all the key levels in here, the evidence that we're looking at in that near term. And near term for us comes from intraday charts, looking at a period of influence about 1 to 5 days. And then short term, basically 1 to 3 weeks in terms of period of influence. And it's interesting, to see how these things are in alignment together, because when things are in alignment, there's a higher probability of a condition continuing. Right now, you look at this and say, wow, how can we forecast that the market is going to go down? Well, I mean, the cycle work has an influence, a major influence on that timing. And if you look at where we are in a chart, it's also really important to see, because so this is the 2-hour chart. We give the key levels. Again, this is for that short-term trader with the resistance zones, support zones, intermediate levels. And then we have some other studies that we overlay, and Slim mentioned our projection oscillator that we use, and we've just brought this one in. And so we have videos that go over this, and as I mentioned, we're gonna set up a session Q&A to go over anything you want in terms of the popular services. It also has our daily charts, where we do a screenshot of the price action at that time. It includes our Slim ribbon along with our reversal scout. You can see right now that you have a conflict going on. Our Slim ribbon is still positive, and then you have a reversal scout that is negative, and we're coming into that peaking phase. So it's really an important next week or two to give us a sense of, how far are we going to get it? What's this decline going to look like? And that daily snapshot is going to give you a great sense of the key levels if you are a pure technician to watch out for. And we have that on all three of the indexes. So you get the NASDAQ info, the charts, and then the Russell as well. All right, let me just make sure we got them all. Yeah, and I think we included in here our askSlim Live as a convenience factor so that you can click in here and take some time. And I know the replays are opened up. I'll make sure that that we even open up our special report, make sure those are available for everyone. So that's it. That's it for our overview. Hopefully that was very insightful and helpful, so you know what you're receiving. And we'll take some questions now. Slim, Arvi, do we have many questions, or did we get through everything?
Arvi's been doing a great job answering on the chat.
Okay.
So I can see there were a lot of questions in there regarding what you just presented, and then I think Arvi's taken care of them all.
Okay.
If there's any other questions that anybody has regarding the presentation of the popular services, please put that in the Q&A right now. And if not, I'll just move into the couple of questions that I have about the market. So any questions about these services? And I don't see anything going in, so you must have been pretty clear about it. I see some people putting in stuff on the chat. Sadar is asking, do we have a correlation chart? No, we do not for the indexes. You can see on the SIR live stream how those indexes correlate together. When you look at that, I mean, it's being put up right now, and you can see that there certainly is a correlation, and it's very clear which are the strongest and which are the weakest at any time during the day. So if you're a pair trader, there's fantastic information right on this chart that you can see there. Shak is asking, what would negate my bearish view for July? I told you, if it gets over 3175 in the S&P 500, I'll be then looking at that pretty carefully. I'm going to take the screen back from you.
Sure.
All right, so there's a question for me on the S&P 500. The first question, I'm going to go back to that question about what would negate my bearish view. Well, first of all, it's pretty hard when you see years and years of cycle analysis that you see right on here, that every single one of those corrective periods brings you a decline. Now, they're basically in the strongest upside markets, they're 6–7% on the downside. Even we've had some that in the upside, the decline was 300 points in the S&P, even in a strong cycle. So I think it's pretty reasonable in a bullish pattern to get 300 points on the downside. And when I'm looking at the potential move to 2830, well, that's only 300 points in the downside. That's practically a bullish call by me. So that's kind of what we're looking for in this yellow period right over here, is a decline of 300 points. That's nothing when you look at this. And some of these were also, pretty steep. So a very likely, strong possibility there will be a decline in this period. If we get above that area of 3175, and especially to that old high right over there, that's gonna make a big difference. See, I have that fib extension zone in there, and I don't expect it to get in there, but of course it is a possibility. If it does, it's going to raise the target on the downside in that corrective yellow period that you're looking at right over there. So it's to me, it's just a question of how much decline. It's not a question if they will decline. I think that's not a question I would ask, because the probabilities are so high that we would have a decline. There's a question there for the S&P 500 turning down in the near term. I think the question is on what time frame would we actually see that happening? So I'm going to put up a chart that I shared in the last live stream, and that is the 2-hour chart. So this is an unusual chart because it has the daily cycle patterns I just showed you on 2-hour bars. And what you can see is the interesting failing that's going on in the market here. I'll blow that up for you to see. But these are each of those cycles that I showed you on the 2-hour bars. And when a market moves into strength or weakness, there's a domino effect. The shortest time frames show it first. So here, what you have going on right now, you see all this strength on the 2-hour chart. These are all bullish right in here. Every aspect of this was rising positive momentum. Here it turned down, you got some decline on the gap down, but it finished the cycle. We expected that, right? And at this point, we actually didn't have any negative confirmation based on the other 2-hour indicators we use. And now look at the slim ribbon right in here. You see it laying on top of itself and giving you blue, green, blue, green. There is no momentum in this market right now. So while you see you have good periods of upside strength, then it turns down and finishes the cycle. Good upside strength, turns down and finishes the cycle. Look what it's doing right over here. It's telling you that that weekly pattern that I showed you, where it's yellow, is affecting this. And that's why I think it even has, it's even a stronger message that the market is entering a period of weakness when I see this. So the question was, I think, when will the market, give you an indicator it's turning down? I'm going to see it on the 2-hour chart first. And once this momentum goes red or negative, it's going to be a pretty good indication to me that what we're looking at right over here in this downside projection right there is actually really happening. So that's, I hope was clear and answered your question. So Chris asked, what's the expectation for the price level for the first leg down into July, into that July 7th low? Well, this area right over here is the area that we're looking at as first support. You can see that area right there. And then we'll be looking at these areas here. So if there's a potential this comes down into here, into that support area and holds, then you get a rally, and the rally gets you, if it holds in here, it would rally somewhere up in this area here, and then turn over into the nesting area here with the lows over here that point to the bottom. And I can show you where this points to. This points to the low on the 30th of July. So that was the expectation. Look at this right over here. So we expected this low right over here is on June 12th. This cycle right over here predicted the low on June 11th. What do you think about that? Let's look at this other one over here. So this cycle right over here, this bracket, said that the low would likely come around the 17th of May. Now this is plus or minus a few bars. That's the principle of variation. The actual low came on May 14th. It was a Friday. So the 17th is where this said on Monday. The low came on Friday. This one right over here said that the low is likely to be on the 21st of April. The actual low right over here was on the 21st of April. So when you see those, and those are declining phases, and you're failing right in here, then when you see right over here the likelihood of a decline to July 8th, I think it's going to decline to July 8th because that's the money moving in and out. And when I look right over here, this is your support area right there. 30.75 down to about 30.25. So that's not very far. When you look at that with the potential of getting down here to about 29.60. So I think that was pretty clear, and I hope that very well answered the question that you asked. And that goes back to the question Shock asked, which is how confident I am. Well, I look at probabilities, some of the evidence, and I just presented that to you, and it says to me, that's the idea. And Shock says, so if it goes to 31.75, would I turn bullish? So the real question is, if it goes to 31.75, would the indicate, would the sum of the evidence change to a bull market? Would it then change to a market that is likely to continue up? You know, I can't tell you that right now because I need to know the timing that it happens. If it went to 31.75 right now, I would think it would just fail straight down because we're in this period, but not now into the end of July, that it's very likely all rallies will fail. So it's pretty hard for me to say I'm bullish if it goes up. That's not the case. That isn't how cycle analysis works. What we look for is the total sum of the evidence based on the time frames that we're seeing. So I hope that's clear. Do we have any other questions in there? Shaka is again asking if it gets down to the levels I was looking at. Do I think it's a secular bear market? I do actually. And I have shown in my big picture analysis how I think that the low of this bear market doesn't come until the end of 2021. So I think I covered all the questions in there, did I not? If there's any questions that anybody has, be sure that you write that to Matt at askSlim.com about what we presented. If you have questions about trade ideas or about the analysis that they showed, I don't have it on here. I have to put it on here, right? Arvi, A-R-V-I at askSlim.com. And questions about membership support, those things, right, to support at askSlim.com. Level 3 and 4 members, they have the reserved right to write directly to me to discuss analysis, trader issues, any way that I could support them. That is level 3 and 4 members only, and level 4 members do get our live charts on Thinkorswim. We have a special that's coming up. Whoops. We have a special that's coming up on July 2nd. You want to talk more about that, Matt?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that what we are looking to do on July 2nd is to have an open Q&A to go over the popular services. Again, Arvi and I will attend an askSlim live session. And so basically what that will give you is an opportunity to test these out for several days and then come in and be able to ask us questions and provide you with some answers and further insights into the best utilization of the services.
All right, that's great. All right, I want to thank everybody that came here. We had a large audience today. And thank you, Matt, for your presentation. Thank you, Arvi, for a great presentation, for showing off our trade ideas and our charting work. Again, make sure that you guys contact us if you have any questions at all, and we will see you next time.
All right, take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.